We know from the timeline you've laid out, Carrie, that he crashes the car at 11:28. 911 is called on the crash, we believe, at 11:30, or the spectacle of a crash and then an armed gunman. He enters the school at 11:40, and we know that during the hour they were standing out there, that shots were fired. So it is. I want to read some of the reporting about some of the families. Javier Cazares, a father whose 9-year-old daughter was killed in the massacre, said that officials have been misrepresenting the response of law enforcement during the shooting at Robb Elementary. Quote, they said they rushed in and all that. We didn't see that, said Mr. Cazares, who was outside the school during the attack and heard gunshots. He saw police officers evacuating children, but grew angry, he said, when he did not see officers enter the school immediately. Quote, there were plenty of men out there armed to the teeth. They could have gone in faster. This could have been over in a couple of minutes. Cazares said he spoke with Governor Greg Abbott of Texas at a news conference Wednesday and told him the police responded more slowly than officials had told the news media. During the news conference, Beto O'Rourke, a Democrat running for governor, was quickly escorted out after interrupting the proceedings. That swiftness at the school would have been awesome, he said. I mean, I guess, Carrie, I just want to come back, and I really want to understand. The eyewitnesses did not see anyone rushing into the school, but they heard gunshots. You think of, the stories of 9/11, let's roll. I mean, was there a sense among the parents that if they won't do it, we will?
Absolutely. In fact, that's what they were attempting to do when they were held back. I mean, their children were inside. They were willing to give their own lives to get in there. So absolutely. But they were being held back by the officers who are now outside setting up a perimeter. And there were hundreds of people here at that point. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's easy for a lot of people to go back and want to start second guessing a lot of this. But there are certain things that have been learned in this country since the school shooting, really, in Columbine. And one of them is that officers don't hold back. They go in. When you hear them talk about negotiations and there's no back and forth, I'm not sure negotiation is the right word. We know from Parkland that when they had a gunman there on the loose and had yet to apprehend him, they went to look at the camera system and rewind the video and look at it. We know this school has a camera system. We know that they have had a chance now to review it. But in the crisis of the moment, to review that tape, to say, OK, we know where he is. We know what he did. We see the hallways. They can start making decisions like that. And then if we're looking at what happened in Parkland and applying it now with those lessons learned, or maybe lessons that weren't learned, we know that the deputy there, Scott Peterson, did not go in and now faces some charges himself for his lack of action. And now the officers here are being questioned about their lack of action. In the crisis, when a gun is pulled and there's bullets flying and it's an AR-15 style weapon, I think it's a .233 round. I mean, it can go through a door. It can go through if you held a desk up. Yes, it does all of that. But the officers who were responding had a responsibility to do more. And that's what we're hearing from the family members here, that they expected more of the officers in this crisis to figure something out and not just wait it out, which is what they feel happened, that they had to wait it out until the Border Patrol team came with the proper gear, the shields, and the training to get in there.
Ken Dilanian, you've been reporting on this part of the tragedy since the earliest hours afterward. Bring us up to speed on what your understanding is.
Well, Nicole, Carrie really hit on the exact main points here, which is the two gaps in time, the 10-minute gap initially, and then the 60-minute gap. The 10-minute gap raises the question of why those police didn't arrive sooner when the station where Carrie is standing is about a mile from the school. So there's a huge question there. But the one thing I would add to the timeline here is according to the briefing that we got today, a few officers did initially try to approach the school and stop the gunman right as he was entering. And what Victor Escalon, the regional DPS director, said was that they took rounds. They hear gunfire, he said. They take rounds, they move back and get cover. So essentially, and then he says the initial officers, they received gunfire. They don't make entry initially because of the gunfire they are receiving. So what that says to me is that these officers, presumably armed with handguns, were essentially outgunned by an 18-year-old with a weapon of war an assault rifle, and they decided they couldn't stand their ground in a gunfight with him. They couldn't make entry into the school, and so they backed off. And then they waited for the tactical team 60 minutes. And there are so many questions about that. One of them is the Uvalde Police Department has a SWAT team. And there's a Facebook post from 2 years ago with that SWAT team posting about how they visited schools and buildings in the area to get the lay of the land so that they could better respond to emergency situations. Where was that SWAT team in the hour while they were waiting for the Border Patrol tactical team to come? Did anybody go around to the window of the classroom where this gunman was barricaded in? What efforts were made to try to find out what was going on in there? It's really just unfathomable. And law enforcement officials who are watching this across the country, as Tom Winter said earlier on the air, are aghast at what happened here.
I want to bring Frank in with a little bit more reporting from the families and the eyewitnesses. This is from the Wall Street Journal. This reporting just dropped, Frank. Ms. Gomez, a farm supervisor, said that she was one of numerous parents who began encouraging, first politely, and then with more urgency, police and other law enforcement to enter the school. After a few minutes, she said federal marshals approached her and put her in handcuffs, telling her she was being arrested for intervening in an active investigation. Ms. Gomez convinced local Uvalde police officers, whom she knew, to persuade the federal marshals to set her free. Around her, the scene was frantic. She said she saw a father tackled and thrown to the ground by police and a third pepper sprayed. Once freed from her cuffs, Ms. Gomez made her distance from the crowd, jumped the school fence, and ran inside to grab her two children. She sprinted out of the school with them. Ms. Gomez, Frank, is every parent who put their body in front of a bullet in their kid's body. Every parent would trade their life for their children's life. Now, I'm not questioning protocols, but I am questioning what happened in an hour when we know what happened. 19 babies were slaughtered and 2 of their teachers.
I think we're all questioning that, Nicole. The facts are so in conflict with each other right now that the only thing I can tell you with certainty is that the communications coming out of law enforcement right now are horribly broken. We're all familiar with the physician's Hippocratic oath, do no harm. That press conference today by that regional DPS director did harm. It did harm because he can't answer the most basic anticipated questions. And so the first rule that they teach us early in our management career about calling a press conference is don't call one unless you have some information that's accurate to convey. And if you don't know what you're doing, say, we don't know anything, we're not even going to have a press conference. So that's the only thing I can say with certainty. Now, we've all identified the key questions here. Why did it take so long? If even this is accurate, why did it take 10 minutes to respond to a 911 call? This is a small town. Shouldn't take that long, but it's also a small town, meaning there's only a handful at best of officers on duty in a town of that size on any given shift. If reports are accurate, and again, I say if, because we simply don't know, and we should by now, that 2 of those officers were wounded, so that may have cut in half the officers available for that shift. Don't even know that for sure yet. The other thing we don't understand is the role of the county sheriffs in this. I can see the insignia of sheriff's deputies on scene as part of that perimeter. Your AP reporting just now is the first I've heard of U.S. Marshals being on the scene. And the other thing, we can't even get straight, Nicole, is no one's getting straight the name of the federal agency that showed up with the tactical gear. We're hearing, so I'm familiar with BORTAC, which is the elite team of Border Patrol, as being Border Patrol. I hear people intermingling CBP, which is an entirely different agency. It's Customs and Border Protection, a different agency. Were they both there? Was it a mixed tactical team? And look, here's another question. Where the heck is the sheriff tactical team and the local police tactical team? What if this happened in a non-border town? Why does Border Patrol have to show up and save the day? Thank God they did, but why? And I've worked all over the United States alongside police departments in my FBI career, and I've carried a badge and a gun for 25 years. Yes, the training and policy changed after Columbine. Absolutely, it was. If you've got 2 or 3 of you, don't care if you're working mortgage fraud or public corruption, you're going in and here's how to train to do it. And we did it. I remember that distinctly, kept practicing, stacking up, going in for an active shooter. Why that didn't happen, I can engage in conjecture. You know, we've heard the word negotiation thrown around. Kerry said maybe that was an attempt to talk and you're getting silence from there without maybe gunshots being heard. Maybe you're keeping kids alive by not going in. I can understand that. I can understand 2 officers are down, but we need the answers right now. And then we need to answers also because we need to learn from this. In most police departments, Nicole, that I have worked alongside, the sergeant on every shift possesses the master key to the schools, period. A squad car on every shift at least has breaching materials and tools in the trunk of his or her car. So what is the deal? Why does the principal have to show up with the master key? Where's the sergeant with the master key? So many questions, so few answers.